The following presentation is sponsored by PVA, the Paralyzed Veterans of America. Quickie GP wheelchairs were provided by Quickie Designs. This video has been produced in cooperation with the National Wheelchair Basketball Association and Wright State University.
Hello, I'm Andy Fleming, Sports and Recreation Director for the Paralyzed Veterans of America. As the nation's largest sponsor of wheelchair sports, PVA is proud to bring you this video on wheelchair basketball. Today, wheelchair basketball is the most popular and widely organized of all wheelchair sports. PVA members helped start the sport more than 40 years ago in Veterans Administration hospitals and have supported its growth ever since. For well over a decade, PVA has been the largest sponsor of the National Wheelchair Basketball Association through our annual support of the National Wheelchair Basketball Tournament, and more recently, the NWBA PVA National Basketball Camp. PVA also publishes Sports and Spokes, the leading magazine devoted to wheelchair sports and recreation. This video is one part of a three-part package on wheelchair basketball. The complete package includes a 2-volume videotape set plus a 145-page manual. Volume 1 of the video covers individual skills and drills. Volume 2 shows team play, building on the fundamentals of offense and defense described in Volume 1. The manual covers the topics shown in the videos in greater detail. Other subjects covered in the book are psychology, nutrition, and practice organization. I encourage you to order the entire set available through PVA. One concept you will learn about in the book and in both tapes is the read and react offense. This system has no predetermined plays. It requires that each player understands the game well enough to see what is happening on the floor and to make the correct moves to exploit defensive weaknesses or other opportunities. It goes beyond the set plays and patterned offenses used by many teams. You now have the best training guide to wheelchair basketball available today. I hope you enjoy this video and benefit from the skills and concepts it explains.
This videotape is the product of the cumulative experiences of 3 coaches from Southwest State University, University of Illinois, and Wright State University, and the coaches' desire to share their philosophy, strategies, and tactical insights on the sport of wheelchair basketball. Here in Volume 2, these coaches will present the fundamentals of team transition, team defense, and team offense. In the companion videotape, Volume 1, the coaches presented their philosophy and the fundamentals of individual offense, common pick mechanics, individual defense, and selected drills. The coaches are Dan Burns at Wright State University, Dayton, Ohio, Brad Hedrick at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Lou Shaver at Southwest State University, Marshall, Minnesota.
It has been said that one of the most critical factors to a team's success in the game of basketball is good, sound transitional play. When we talk about good transitional play, we're talking about the ability to convert from defense to offense and from offense to defense. We believe there are 3 main components to good transitional play. Number 1, being able to convert quickly. 2, to convert in an organized fashion. And thirdly, to convert from a position of strength. If we don't do these 3 things well, then what we try to do in the half court, both offensively and defensively, becomes very difficult. Now, Coach Shaver will examine more closely the strategies and the mechanics of transitional play in a defensive manner.
we believe that this particular period of the game is so critical that this should be the fastest that you should be pushing during any particular game. Again, we want to stress, we want to do it quickly, we want to be organized, and we want to do it in terms of strength. Now, the mechanics that are involved include: 1, releasing upon recognition of the loss of ball. 2, we want our people to release down the middle of the floor. 3, we want constant awareness of the ball and the floor pattern in terms of the offense coming down the court. And number 4 then are the position priorities once now we enter our front court in terms of our defensive positioning. Let's take a look at this now with a walkthrough. All right, rebound. Now note, on rebound, upon loss of possession of ball, all 5 players are turning, and now they're starting down the floor. This is very, very critical. We do not want to attack the offensive team. We're not pressing. We're in a transitional phase. So number 1 is, again, upon recognition, down the floor. We turn. We go down the middle of the floor. We want our players to stay in the middle of the floor so that they do not become easily picked if they go to the sidelines, plus that takes time, and so therefore then we can lose any kind of positioning that we may have gained through a quick release. We teach our players to try to put at least a wheel on the middle jump circle here at the midcourt of the floor. This is 12 feet. We don't want our players to get any wider than this because, once again, they're prone to picks. Now, as we come down the floor, one person will eventually be leading. This person will assume a position that we will call our point. They will pivot and they will face back out toward the ball. Now, normally, as we're coming down on the transition, there's a great deal of conversation. We do a great deal of communication. In this particular case, for instructional purposes, we're not having these particular players communicate. But our point person now takes a position approximately at the hash marks within the paint. Now they become our quarterback. Number 2 player coming down. In communication with number 1, usually on the ball side, takes a low post position. Again, ball side. The positioning is such that the foot plates now are pointing out toward the intersection of the baseline and the out of bounds line. Also, the spacing is very important. We do not want this person down into a position where an offensive player can flash through in this particular space. Player number 3 now takes a position opposite player number 2 in the same fashion, the same positioning, and finally players number 4 and 5 will assume a position now in the wings. They also will kick to the outside. We want our people kicking people to the outside. We do not want the offense penetrating and going to the basket. So therefore, we set our people facing outside so that it influences them and we can control them. Now, if we can see this now in a fast pace, we'll now demonstrate to you the positioning. Rebound. Note the turn. Now the communication. Right. Now you can see the communication pattern. And now let's take a look at this particular sequence in a game situation. The goal team, upon making the basket, immediately retreats down the court to assume their proper defensive positions, thus eliminating opportunities for the blue team to backpick. At this point in the transition, each player in a numerical order can assume the proper position, with the first player assuming a point position. Player number 2 and 3 then assume low post positions, with players 4 and 5 assuming the proper wing positions.
we talk about offensive transitional play, or converting from defense to offense, we try to operate with two basic premises in mind. First, that it's much easier to get a good shot with the defense moving and possibly out of position. Secondly, we also try to strive for numerical superiority offensively through the type of movement we create in our transition. What we are striving to tell you then is that we are offering you a system to convert from defense to offense and not operate under a run and gun mentality. Let's look at some of these strategies and mechanics for successful offensive transitional play. The first step to good transition play offensively is blocking out and securing the rebound on the shot by your opponents.
Ball.
You'll notice that as the rebounder, number 52, secured the rebound, he yelled ball. Ball is the signal for the other 4 non-rebounding players to go to an appropriate or logical outlet position. There are 2 keys to success to initiating that outlet pass. Number 1, the rebounder must be able to pass with either hand. He must be able to make the appropriate pass. And number 2, the 4 non-rebounding players must go to good outlet positions to create passing opportunities for the rebounder. The first thought that we give our rebounders is to pass to the first open teammate that he or she would see. In this case, 52 secures the rebound, looks to his right, and sees an open teammate in number 42 and makes the appropriate pass to him. In the event that that person would be covered, another strategy that we advocate is to reverse action. By reverse action, we mean that it is all right to pass the ball backwards, even though we are attempting to move the ball up court into a scoring position. In this case, he looks to his right. There's not an opportunity to pass. He looks to his left and sees number 54 lower than he is, closer to the baseline, and makes the appropriate pass. For instructional purposes, we'll assume that the first outlet opportunity is to number 42. The second step, then, is to move the ball up the court. We do this through passing, and we try to create good passing opportunities by cutting across the face of the ball. Cutting across the face of the ball involves making a move about 45-degree angle to the passer. In this case, number 24 made such a cut to the top of the key. This action provides great passing opportunities for our offensive people. We will try to keep crossing the face of the ball up to the 10-second line. And in this case, number 33 sees such an opportunity and makes the appropriate cut. As we approach the 10-second line, and by our crossing action, we will try to fill lanes in the appropriate manner. By lanes, we mean a lane down the middle of the floor, approximately 10 to 12 feet wide, and lanes on either side of that, approximately 10 to 12 feet wide. We ask our players to fill those lanes relatively close, within about 10 feet of each other, and penetrate the front court. With those strategies and ideas in mind, let's look at this at normal speed. Shot. You'll notice that the rebounder looks left, sees an open teammate, makes the pass. 2 appropriate cuts are made, and then the lanes are filled as they attack and look for a quick shooting opportunity and looking to score. With that kind of action and those kinds of strategies, we will get good offensive transition and hopefully successful basketball.
As the direct result of good conversion, technique, and mechanics, and with good backcourt picking. We now can assume that we have achieved numerical superiority. We're going to discuss the 2-on-1, the 3-on-2, the 4-on-3, and the 5-on-4. In each one of these particular superiority situations, we will also be discussing the proper defensive technique as well as the offensive technique. We teach this concurrently. In offense, we're going to stress proper spacing and positioning. We're going to stress control, both of the chair and the ball movement. We want our players to be under total control with the ball in the chair, and we want to minimize passes. These are the offensive techniques. Conversely, the defensive techniques then would be that we want our defensive people, since they're outnumbered, to maintain neutral positions, to force multiple passing situations, to play the stronger, the more skilled players, and finally, 4, to block out and secure the rebound. Let's take a look at the 2-on-1. A 2-on-1 situation occurs when 2 players have assumed a position approximately the width of the lane. We don't want our players too wide because, once again, there's time and there's also space, and that would allow then people to fill the lanes in behind them and to assist then the defensive person in terms of the defensive structure. Now, once again, our defensive person is going to assume a position approximately at the hash marks in the paint. The 2 offensive people, again, are approximately the width of the lane. They can be just a bit wider. Once again, emphasizing the lane is 12 feet. We don't want our players wider than that because that makes a more difficult pass. So with that in mind then, as they advance on the 1 defensive person, what they are going to attempt to do is to, in some way, influence the defensive person so that they commit. When they hit approximately the free throw line extended, they want to now position their chairs at approximately a 45-degree angle, because this is the proper angle that they need to assume for the layup. So with that, the players would come down to approximately the free throw line. Now, the defensive player, we want him to be aggressive. We want them to challenge. We want them, remember, to make the offense pass the ball. So in this case, number 20 would fake up, just fake up slightly, and forcing number 22 to pass the ball. And again, notice the left hand proper passing arm that number 22 will exhibit. Now, when this happens, now the defensive person has a decision to make. Both of these people are now in position to attack. The defensive person very early on makes a decision as to which of the 2 players is the more skilled. We want that particular player not to take the shot. So therefore, when that defensive person makes that decision, they will now assume a good blocking out position, a rebounding position, if you will, allowing the weaker of the 2 players to take the layup. Now we do this again because we're playing percentages. We do not want the strong, the skilled player to take the shot. So once he makes that decision, then he will assume a position, again trying to make the offense, if he can, pass the ball. We instruct our players that if they can force the offense to make 2 passes, then they've done an excellent job in terms of their defensive posture. It takes time for the ball to travel. And again, we're trying to buy time. When the defensive person has made that particular decision, they will now block out that other person, the stronger of the 2, again, forcing another pass. Number 22 will assume a good 45-degree angle to the basket, will receive another pass, and will take the layup. In this case, again, using proper mechanics and techniques with the left hand. Now note that the defensive player did not leave, all right, the offensive player. They blocked them out, And the strategy is when the weaker of the two people miss the layup, then we secure the rebound. What we don't do is get caught in the middle, have the layup missed, and then have the other offensive person secure the rebound, perhaps on the other side of the basket, and put it back up for a layup. Those are the basic mechanics then in terms of a sequential pattern as far as a walkthrough. Now let's take a look at this in normal speed. Okay, go. Now let's take a look at this in a game situation. Now let's take a look at the 3-on-2 situation. Once the players have broken the midcourt area, we want them in their lanes. We want a person in the middle of the floor offensively and two people on the wings. Remember, there are two defensive people. Now, the two defensive people can take one of two positions. The first position they can assume is in the tandem position. And what we see are the two players in the paint, one behind each other in a stacked or a tandem position. The second position that they can take is a parallel position to the baseline. And you can see the two players now in this parallel position. Now, we have two simple rules that we teach the offensive people. No matter what positioning the two defenders take, read their position and then react to it. The first reaction is the one in tandem. When the two defenders are in tandem, the ball goes to a wing, and it can be left or right wing. We don't care. But when they're in tandem position, the ball should go to a wing. If in the course of the break, the defenders then assume a parallel position, the rule is the ball goes to the middle of the court. The thinking is, and the philosophy is then, therefore, no matter what the defenders do, be they in tandem or be they in a parallel position, we read and react, and so thus, no matter what they do, they are going to be incorrect. If we execute in terms of ball handling, chair handling, then we're going to secure an excellent shot. Now, conversely, the two defenders again want to be aggressive, whether they're in the tandem or whether they're in a parallel position. So they want to force some passes. They also, once again, want to recognize that the three people that are coming down on offense, we want them to identify that one of them is the weaker of the three. When that decision is made, as in the 2-on-1, we want the other two people blocked off in a good rebounding position so that when the layup is shot, and again, percentages, we're playing the percentages, when it's missed, then we can secure the rebound. Now let's take a look at this in a walkthrough. You saw then an excellent example of the ball going from the middle of the court to the wing because the people were in a tandem position. The two defenders, conversely, made them throw two passes. So in terms of the execution pattern, we got the layup, but as you saw, it was a missed layup, which again is part of the percentages that we are attempting to deal with in terms of successful completion of a particular defensive posture. Now let's take a look at that same play in normal speed. Now let's take a look at this action during a scrimmage. Now let's consider the mechanics in the 4-on-3 situation. The first priority is defense. So again, let's take a look at the defensive posture with our 3 people. They're going to assume the triangle. And the triangle consists of a point person and 2 people low post. Let's take a look at that. In this position, they are now ready to defend the basket. They can kick people to the outside. So that's number 1 with the defense. They'll follow the same rules as we have with the 2-on-1 and the 3-on-2, in that they are trying to force passes, and they're trying, once again, to identify the weaker of the ball players that are attacking them and thus making them shoot. The 4 attackers, in the meantime, will post up. The first 2 people down the court will post up low post and will tee up the people who are assuming a defensive position. By teeing them up, we mean putting their foot plates in a perpendicular situation to the defenders. So they're going to tee up the people in the low post, and also they're going to assume a good shooting angle. The other 2 people, who will be the trailing 2 people, the out-court people, will now be in a 2-on-1 situation on the point person. On a 2-on-1 situation, they will read what that point defensive person is doing, and then from that particular time, that will dictate the ball movement. Now, there's one other issue that we should probably cover in the 4-on-3. In the 4-on-3, we can now get some help as the ball moves and as people move. When there is help coming defensively, what we'll teach our players is that they must recognize where that pressure is coming from, and thus that's where the open offensive person will be, and to make the proper pass and thus secure what we hope is an unchallenged shot. So once again, it's a read and react situation in terms of the defense. They're trying to play aggressive to force passes, and with the offense in terms of where's the pressure, where are the lanes, with the 2 people who are the first down the floor taking a low post, post-up position. Let's take a look at that now in slow motion. Now, let's take a look at that same action at full speed.
I got 52. 52.
Shot!
Now let's take a look at that same action in a scrimmage situation. And now we'll consider the 5-on-4 situation. In the 5-on-4 situation, usually we have someone back-picked. So the remaining 4 offensive players are going to precede the person that's in either the backcourt or somewhere over the midcourt area who's actually doing the picking. Now, once again, we look at the defensive posture. 5-on-4, we create a box. Again, keeping the same techniques as we did before. We never violate that. So our 2 wing people, for instance, note they're kicked to the outside, almost parallel to the baseline, but also spaced and positioned so that a chair can't come down the middle. The 2 low post position, again, are at an angle, again with their foot plates, so that they bisect the intersection of that sideline and the baseline, so that once again we protect the basket. Now in the 5-on-4, offensively, the first 2 people down the floor are going to post up low post. Again, assuming a good shooting angle and teeing up the defensive person. The next 2 people then are going to assume a wing position. And they're going to attempt to split the 4 defenders, so that if one of the wings is going to guard them, that's going to create space down the middle. Once this has been created, and once then the person who's doing the back picking has released, then they read where that slot is, where that attacking zone is. In this case, it's going to be coming down the middle. We want the ball to that person that's doing the attacking down the middle. We want that ball to them at least by the top of the key. We also want that person to be under total control. Now, should they get pressure from one of the wings, once again, they read that pressure, where's it coming from, and then they make the appropriate pass. So let's see this action now in slow motion. All right, now let's take a look at that same action at full speed.
I got 52. 52.
Now let's take a look at the same action under scrimmage conditions.
Again, the objectives in offensive transitional play are to move the ball quickly up the floor and in an organized fashion. The other objective, trying to create numerically superior situations, is best achieved through proper backcourt picking. Backcourt picking is simply trying to place an offensive player between a defensive player and the offensive basket and maintaining that position until the four offensive teammates and the ball are in a good attack position in the front court. With that in mind, let's take a look at the mechanics and the strategies and the communication involved in good backcourt picking. For the sake of demonstration, we have 5 yellow players who are initially on defense and will be converting to offense. We have also added a blue player who is initially on offense who will be trying to convert to defense. After successful possession of the ball through good defensive blocking out and good defensive rebounding, an outlet pass is made, and all 4 players are looking to relieve that pressure. Once those players sense that the ball is moving well up the floor, then we ask our players to also look to back pick, look for back picking opportunities. In this case, number 13 sees an opportunity to back pick number 10, who is late in getting back defensively. There are 2 basic postures in backcourt picking that we try to teach. The first position that we will talk about is a position when the defensive player, number 10 in this case, is trying to move horizontally up the court. In other words, moving in parallel to the baseline or the 10-second line. Number 13 should assume a position that is overplaying and tight. In this position, you can see that she is ahead of and in a tight position to number 10, to the point where this person cannot cut underneath. You do not want to overplay and allow a person to cut underneath you and effectively get away. The other position that we like to try to obtain is if the player on defense, number 10 in this case again, is moving up court, and we try to assume a position where we put rubber on the opponent. By putting rubber on the opponent, we are trying to put a large wheel in or near the front footrest of the defending player. In this position, we would be able to contain this player for as long as necessary and then release when it's appropriate. Now let's look at it at normal speed. After a successful rebound and outlet, number 13 finds, again, number 10 in a back-picking situation. Notice the position she tries to maintain while she contains the player. She will continue to maintain this until the appropriate time to release. In addition to the proper positioning, you also heard very proper communication. That communication was, "I've got one," which allows her teammates up court to note that there is a defensive player out of play. And with that kind of communication and that kind of positioning, backcourt picking becomes very effective in creating numerically superior situations. Now let's look at it in a scrimmage situation. In this sequence, number 24 in blue will be backpicking number 32 in gold. Again, note the mechanics and strategies of backpicking just discussed, and pay particular attention to the fact that this technique is performed with a minimal amount of contact.
Shot! I got one!
The transition offense versus the full court press is merely an extension of the read and react offense to the full court scenario. Some primary execution points are, first, that there must be no pattern to the movement of the players on the floor or in the location of the offensive personnel. It must be remembered that the defense, in attempting to press the offense full court, has very little time to organize and to make adjustments. Subsequently, by attacking quickly and assuming the nearest appropriate location, the offense can increase the pressure on the defense and subsequently take advantage of miscues and mismatches in personnel. Next, the athletes, in assuming these positions, want to immediately begin taking their individual reads and tandem reads to see where they can best exploit the defensive configuration. Now let's look at these points in a playing situation. Note that upon gaining possession of the basketball, the gold team demonstrated no predisposition to move in a certain manner or to go systematically to a certain location. They went very efficiently to the nearest appropriate location on the floor, and by doing so, they're able to immediately exploit potential miscues by the defense or mismatches that may have resulted. Now in their set position, they're ready to execute the read and react offense in accordance with its principles. The first principle is, of course, maintaining appropriate spacing and balance on the floor. Secondly, we want to emphasize the use of passing as opposed to dribbling to move the ball down and get it in position for a good shot. Passing the ball moves it more expediently and keeps greater pressure on the defense than dribbling the ball. Additionally, since we want to emphasize the pass, the players have to look to post up and across the face of the ball to create accessible, safe passing lanes. And lastly, we want to emphasize the use of flashing and picking maneuvers to gain numerical superiority in transition and therefore obtain a good transitional shot. In setting picks, again, we want to emphasize the use of the grid to ascertain which is the appropriate picking maneuver. In transition, because we're moving strictly in that direction, away from this basket down court, we only need the horizontal lines. And the picking rule is that we want to look back and pick a defensive player farthest from our basket on offense. Now, in using those rules, we can begin to evaluate the cues that are presently available in this defensive setup. All the offensive players at this time should be able to make the following read. First, it should be evident to each of the players that according to the grid lines, there's a pick in this position where this guard will come down and set a pick for the inbounds player and will pick number 30 blue for the defense. In recognizing that, the player throwing the inbounds pass should look to inbounds the ball to the guard away from this pick, number 42 gold. Once the ball comes to 42 gold, we have another read. That read is that in this position at half court, we have a significant mismatch in speed, with the offensive player in gold being appreciably quicker and faster than the defender. Knowing that, these players can immediately assume that a flash is imminent. And finally, for the opposite forward, seeing the flash and the pick and knowing that the ball will be inbounded to the opposite guard, this individual should look to post up to be the second pass outlet and then would turn to look for the long pass to the breaking forward. Now let's watch this play develop. In the previous example, the offensive action that occurred was the result of a specific set of individual and tandem reads. Given changes in the location of specific personnel on the floor, different reads would result and different action would occur. Again, this type of variability and lack of predictability in the offensive set keeps maximum pressure on the defense. Now let's look at the cues which are specific to the offensive set when the defense fronts one of the guards. Once again, immediately upon gaining possession of the ball, the offensive team went immediately to those locations which they were closest to. Now, what we've been able to accomplish by doing this is we've caught a defender attempting to front one of the offensive guards. As you can see here, number 40 blue on defense is attempting to front player number 34 on the offensive team. In this case, player 34 actually has a pick set on number 40 and should merely hold this pick and allow the play to develop away from him. Seeing this situation, the player keying the inbounds pass should again look to throw the ball away to the opposite guard. With the inbounds pass arriving here, we can then look to either pass to a forward or, if possible, at that point, hit number 34, breaking away from the pick, going towards the offensive end of the court. When player 34 receives the pass in the middle of the court, the read then by the forwards would be that they're in a 3-on-2. The ball would be in the middle of the court, and subsequently the forward on this side and on the opposite side would immediately turn outside and break down the floor in a 3-on-2 situation. Now let's watch this play develop. Now let's look at our offensive actions when two offensive guards are fronted. In this situation, the defense is attempting to play even more aggressively. As we can see in the two guard positions, the defense is attempting to deny access to a passing lane from the inbounds passer. Number 30 is attempting to deny access to the passing lane by number 33. And number 40 blue is attempting to accomplish the same thing with the offensive player number 54. In reading this positioning, offensive player number 54 and number 33 should first attempt to drive towards the baseline, get as low as possible, reverse, and post up those defenders. By achieving that position, they can break off the post-up maneuver and obtain a clear and accessible passing lane. If these offensive players find that the two defenders are too strong and that they cannot obtain a low enough position to achieve an accessible passing lane, they may need to set a cross pick. In this situation, because they're attempting to gain access to the inbounds pass rather than to their basket, they will read the grid in reverse, so that they will now pick the defensive player who's farthest from this basket. In this situation, because the defender, number 40, is farther from this basket than is this defender according to the white grid lines, player number 33 should attempt to cross pick for number 54 on this side of the floor. Again, I would emphasize that these are all just a number of possible options and reads that these individuals could make on this particular play. Now let's watch this play develop. Now let's look at the read and react offensive cues against the most aggressive form of defensive press. This represents the most aggressive form of a defensive press. At this time, each defensive player is attempting to deny his or her assignment access to a passing lane. As we can see, we have a defender between each offensive player and the inbounds passer. Additionally, the team is not guarding the player who's throwing the inbounds pass in order to double team the person who is most likely to receive that initial inbounds pass. This individual is now floating in the center of the defensive area, hoping to read the passing mechanics of the inbounds thrower, reading that and reacting and hopefully double teaming and intercepting the pass or forcing a turnover. In attacking this type of defensive configuration, again, the guards should attempt to go to a low post towards the baseline. Additionally, it's very important that the player throwing the inbounds pass utilize a pass fake to try to attract the floating defender in one direction or the other. In this particular situation, because the floating defender is cheating to the side of the inbounds pass, the appropriate read would be to fake the pass to number 23 on offense immediately after he turns to break to the baseline. In so doing, and pulling the floater away, we would have an adequate passing lane to number 20 after he took his defender to the low post, reversed, and turned to look for the ball. As for the forwards should attempt to clear the areas where the passes will be made. if the pass is going to be made to number 20 on the reversal, the forward on this side of the floor must keep the defensive players back to the play and must clear this area. To do this, he might attempt to move to his right and bring the defender farther away from that likely passing lane. Finally, again, every time the offense is able to get a defender outside of their chair and their basket, they should hold the forward pick. And so, when this defender, once the pass is made to the opposite guard, this guard should hold the pick on this person until the inbounds passer has come into the floor and has passed and in transition. Now let's watch this action develop. In summary, we have not attempted to represent all possible defensive configurations or offensive options. Instead, we've attempted to convey an understanding of the process for reading the defensive actions and determining appropriate offensive maneuvering.
A multiple defensive system allows us to incorporate relatively complex options and yet to remain simple in terms of communication. This allows us then to set our game strategy dependent upon our scouting report as far as how we want to attack the other team defensively. It also incorporates man-to-man with zone principles. It allows us to play pure man-to-man, and then it also allows us to play combination man-to-man with some zone principles. Now basically it is a 1 and a 2-digit numbering system. The first part of the system is man-to-man, and it is man-to-man in terms of where we're going to pick people up on the floor. How far extended are we going to be? The 0 in the 1-digit numbering system defines that we're going to pick people up at the baseline. In other words, we're going to press them, and we're going to press them from baseline to baseline.
Let's take a look at the 0 defense on a magnetic board. The 0 defense is a man-to-man, full-court, baseline to baseline press. In this particular setup, the defensive team in red has just scored. We pick up the other team at the baseline in a pressing situation. Here we have the ball out of bounds, and we pick up each ball player in bounds, and also we cover the ball. So this gives us a full court pressing situation.
The 1 defensive system then in our numbering system now allows us to incorporate a 3/4 press. The 1 now designates that from the free throw line extended, our players will pull back beyond that free throw line where we can get organized and pick the people up then man-to-man. We allow the ball to be thrown in because we want to become organized. It is a 3/4 press.
Let's take a look at this defense on a magnetic board. The 1 defense is a 3/4 man-to-man press with the free throw line extended now being the key. So we are now going to press from the key back down the court. In this particular illustration, red is the defensive team. Perhaps they've just scored. Here is the ball being taken out of bounds. Notice that the offensive team, player 2 and player 4, are down below the free throw line extended. We do not send defensive player 2 down below. We want our players to pull back beyond the free throw line. so that we can become organized. Should there be ball players down the court, we would pick them up in good defensive position. We allow the ball to come in, we get organized, and then we apply the press.
The number 2 defense then is a half-court man-to-man press. And so once again, we're going to have our players pull back beyond the midcourt area, beyond the 10-second line, and now we're going to pick up the other team in a man-to-man pressing type of defense.
We can illustrate the 2 defense on the magnetic board. The 2 defense is a half-court man-to-man press. We instruct our players to retreat beyond the midcourt line. This allows us to become organized. We allow the ball to be thrown in bounds. In this situation, we allow offensive player 1 to bring the ball up to the midcourt line where defensive pressure is then applied. Note that the remaining defensive players also wait for their specific offensive players to cross the midcourt area before applying pressure. Once again, we want our defensive players beyond the midcourt area. This is the 2 defense, a half-court, man-to-man pressing defense.
The 3 defense. The 3 defense and actually the 4 defense are straight transitional defenses. In other words, we're going to drop back now. The only difference is we're still going to play man-to-man, but the 3 designates that we're going to extend that man-to-man once we have accomplished our transition. We're going to extend that particular man coverage out to about the 3-point line.
The 3 defense is a man-to-man defense in which, after scoring at this end of the court, we immediately instruct our players to retreat as quickly as they can back into good defensive position. We allow the ball to be thrown in at this end of the court. We allow the ball to be brought up the court with no impedance. What we do with the 3 defense is to extend it, as in player 3, out to the 3-point line. Thus, we allow the offensive players after the inbounds pass to progress beyond the free throw lane, the midcourt area, which allows the defense to become organized and apply pressure at the 3-point line.
Then the 4 defensive number designates that now, once again, we're in that transition. But now perhaps the other team is bigger, faster, and stronger than us. We can't extend because of that situation. So therefore, what we do now is we keep our ball players still in a man, although we use some zone principles, but we stay in a man, but now we have our ball players in the paint or in the lane.
The 4 defense is a man-to-man defense. We instruct our players to retreat after turning the ball over, missing a shot, or scoring a basket at this end of the court, down to a good defensive position in the free throw lane or in the paint area. We instruct our players to put at least 1 wheel either on the free throw line or the free throw lane area, and not to extend the defense. For instance, in this particular situation, note that player 2 on offense is out in a midcourt area. We do not move our defensive player out to guard this particular individual. We would use a 4 defense when the other team is bigger, faster, and stronger. If we extend our defense out, if we don't put our players down in good defensive positions to begin with, then we place ourselves at a disadvantage. We must retreat as quickly as possible and assume as good of defensive positioning as we possibly can achieve.
In addition to our 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is our man defense, we have 2 basic techniques which complement them. The first is our hard versus soft. The soft denotes that we're playing just position basketball. We just want to make the people move the ball. We don't want to foul them. We don't want to get up rim to rim. We want to make them pass the ball, and what we're attempting to do is to just create some kind of turnover.
The soft concept is simply playing good defensive position basketball. In this example, we will use a one defense. The one defense is a three-quarter man-to-man press in which we clear the free throw line extended. We become organized as in this particular situation. We allow the ball to be thrown in. We are playing soft. We're playing position basketball. If we have a player who has gone down court, we're going to assume good defensive position. We are not going to overplay. We are not going to apply a great deal of pressure or foul. What we want to accomplish in the soft technique in this particular situation is to impede offensive movement. We instruct our players that if they can make the offensive team in blue pass the ball 2 or 3 times before crossing the 10-second line, then there is a greater chance for some kind of turnover. So, we utilize the soft as a way in which we can incorporate good, sound defensive techniques and strategies. And all we are attempting to do is to make the other team read and react properly and to execute. We are in a man-to-man pressing defense, but it is soft.
Now, let's take a look at the hard technique in scrimmage footage.
Note, at this point, the blue team is already in man-to-man positions. We attempt to cut off the passing lanes by going down underneath the offensive players. If this is not successful, we continue to apply maximum pressure full court to force a turnover.
The other technique is what we call a linebacker versus a free safety. The linebacker now, we're going to double team. And we're going to double team probably the very best ball player on the other team. We're going to try to take them out of the game. We've noticed, for instance, that a particular team throws the ball in to a particular ball player 70, 80, 90% of the time. So what we'll call now is the linebacker technique. And in the linebacker technique, once again, we want one of our players to be underneath and one of the other players to be on top of, so that we sandwich that player. Thus, we take that player away from the other team. Let's take a look at that in scrimmage footage.
In this sequence, we are going to double team number 44 in gold with number 52 and number 13 in blue, so that number 44 cannot receive the inbounds pass.
The opposite of that linebacker technique now is a free safety. Now we take one of our people and we place them up at the top of the key, and they're literally a free safety. They try to read, they attempt to anticipate, and they attempt to bait the other people into a long pass, and then what they attempt to do then is to cut that off where we secure the ball. Let's take a look at that particular technique then in game footage.
Here in this sequence, number 13 in blue will assume the free safety position.
In addition now to our man-to-man, our 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and our hard and soft technique, our linebacker versus free safety technique, we now incorporate combination defenses. These are our 2-digit defenses. And the 2-digit immediately alerts our people that we're going into a combination defense. Once they hear the 2-digit, then the last number of that digit denotes how many people are going to be in a zone, or what we term a stay-home situation. For instance, our 11 defense 11 is a combination defense. The 1 in the 11, the last number, denotes then that one person is going to stay home or one person's going to be in a zone situation. The other 4 people are playing man-to-man. Let's take a look at that particular defense on the floor. Our 12 defense now is a 2 stay home. And so once again, we're going to incorporate 2 individuals playing zone principles, and now 3 people are going to be in a man-to-man situation. Let's take a look at that particular technique on the floor. Now, the 2 people who are staying home have a decision to make. They can either stay in tandem or they can be in a parallel situation. Our 13, our 3 stay home, is now commonly known as the triangle 2. In the triangle 2, again, we're going to incorporate 3 people in zone principle with 2 people now in man-to-man situation. Let's take a look at that then on the floor. Now, the 2 people who are playing man-to-man have several options. We can take them and play on the ball, or we can double team a specific player, or we can man-to-man on 2 particular players. So we have some options within this particular defense. The 14 denotes 4 stay home, which is commonly called a box and 1. And in the box and 1, we have 4 people playing zone and 1 person then who's in man-to-man or in a chase position. Let's take a look at that then on the floor. Once again, we can incorporate techniques in which the 1 person is on the ball or to a specific individual. Now, the last technique that we incorporate is one which allows us to play combination defenses, but also incorporate the press. An example of this, for instance, is in a 13, and we add the word extended, which is the cue, again, for our players that we're going into a press kind of mode. So we're going to run a 13 extended 2. And what this looks like on the floor is such. Now note that the two players are up at the mid-court area, at the 10-second line. If you'll remember, in the 0, 1, 2, that's our half-court, then pressing defense. And so we can play all kinds of combinations. We could play a 13 extended 1, which would send these players now down to the free throw line. So we have several different kinds of combinations within this structure. So therefore, from the bench, without calling timeout, we can structure our defense to meet several game situations. Now, in review, in conclusion, our multiple defensive system allows us to run relatively complex options, but yet remain very simple to communicate.
The ball side, help side defense was designed to allow the defensive team to possess numerical superiority on what has to be the most dangerous side of the court, and that's the side on which the ball is located. Now, we define ball side according to a line that bisects the lane and the basket, with the side that the ball is on being designated our ball side and the opposite side being designated the help side. Now, this is critical in situations where the defense must press outside to defend against a good outside shooter, or it helps in situations where the ball side has experienced a pick and we need the help side defense to be in position to assist in a 3-player switching scenario. Generally, on the ball side, our defensive players press hard. However, on the help side, we sag off and play very soft, oftentimes zoning against the offensive team. Now let's look at the defensive shifts in the ball side, help side defense with ball movement in a walkthrough. In executing the ball side, help side defense, it's important that each of the players maintain a position on the floor wherein they can see not only the offensive player for which they are assigned defensive responsibilities, but that they can also see those offensive players adjacent to them. such that a wing can see the offensive forward and the offensive point. Now, we'll see in the ball side, help side defense that as the ball is passed, the wings and the center shift to the ball side. The ball side wing comes out to challenge and play hard on defense. The center sags to the ball side, yet faces the offensive player for which he is assigned, and the weak side wing, or the help side wing, on the left side of the court, sags into the middle and zones while facing the weak side or help side wing guard. Note that the forwards stay home and guard the offensive forwards without moving. It's very important that the defensive forwards maintain the integrity of the low post positions, since those are positions that are very susceptible to offense, and we must be able to keep the offensive players out of those zones. Now, as the ball is passed back to the weak side, we'll see the opposition shifts as the left side wing comes out to challenge the ball. The center sags now to the left side while facing the point, and the right side wing sags into the middle to offer help to the ball side. The ball side, help side defense puts each of the defensive players in a position wherein a three-player switch can be easily executed. Now let's look at the defensive shift and a three-player switch given ball rotation.
When we talk about systems relating to team offense, we will be advocating a system that we call the read and react. The read and react system involves many of the same principles that are found in the passing game and motion game offenses that are so popular today. We as coaches have found that pattern-based offenses to have very severe limitations. Some of these include being too recognizable and therefore being too predictable. Also, pattern-based offenses tend to fail to exploit defensive weaknesses. On the other hand, the read and react offense is an opportunistic one. You have to understand that there's no predetermined movement to team players or the ball. As a result, defensive anticipation becomes very difficult. It's a very difficult system to scout, and it can be used against a variety of defenses and with varying tempos of play. And lastly, I think most importantly, this system is most enjoyed by the players because it allows them the freedom to be creative and to use their talents in the best way possible. Let's take a look at some of the principles more closely involved in this system. There are three basic actions that we try to achieve in the read and react system to get a good shot. First, we try to incorporate a lot of passing in our half-court offensive game. Number two, we try to utilize flashes and cuts to create good shots. And finally, and probably most importantly in wheelchair basketball, we try to get teammates open by using good, sound, fundamental picking. Now let's take a look at each of these actions more closely. In the passing aspect of the read and react offense, we try to do three things as well as we can. First, we try to create better passing angles using the pass. We try to use the pass rather than the dribble to get the ball inside. Second, we try to use post-up maneuvers on the perimeter to protect the ball and create good passing outlets. And finally, we'll use the pass to try to distort the defense, get them out of position, and thus create good shooting opportunities. In all aspects of our passing game, the read and react offense, we try to maintain this one philosophy of passing away from the defense. We encourage our players to try to get the ball to players so that the ball is received away from the defense. If we do that, then the pass receiver can protect the ball and then get the shot or make another pass, whatever is appropriate. Let's take a look at passing away from the defense in some half-court action. In trying to create better passing angles in our read and react offense, we will use the pass rather than the dribble to get the ball inside. If we find that a player is penetrated into the lane and we can't get the ball into him, we will pass to another player and then try to get the ball in through a better passing angle. Let's see how that looks in some half-court action.
Go. Ed. Here, Randy.
We also try to use the post-up maneuver on our perimeter passing game to free up the ball and permit good passing outlet opportunities. The post-up maneuver works like this. We try to make a quick move toward the defensive player, seal that player off, and then flash out to a good passing angle, that way permitting a good pass to be made. Let's take a look at that post-up maneuver from a wing position. That post-up maneuver can be also done from a low post situation. So let's see how that looks. We also try to use the pass to distort the defense in the passing aspect of our read and react offense. By passing the ball, we're able to get the defense, hopefully, out of position, thus creating soft spots in the defense for good shooting opportunities. Let's take a look at some half-court action and how that works. In the cutting aspect of the read and react offense, we try to accomplish two things. We try to gain penetration into the lane through flashes. We also try to create movement on the perimeter through perimeter cuts, or what we call exchange cuts. In the flash move, we try to create a one-on-one situation where a player makes a move and gains penetration into the lane, and thereby creating a great shooting opportunity, or possibly collapsing the defense and making a shooting opportunity on the perimeter more available. Let's take a look at how that flash cut works in a half-court situation. We also try to use our perimeter cuts as exchanges between players to create defensive mismatches. If we can get the defense switching and get a mismatch either in terms of size or classification and get somebody posted up and into a good shooting opportunity, we will try to accomplish that. Let's take a look at how that looks in a half-court situation. Finally, and probably most importantly, in the picking aspect of the read and react offense, we try to use sound picking mechanics to get good penetration into the lane. If we can get good penetration into the lane through picking, we'll get good high percentage shots. Let's take a look at some half-court action and the resulting pick and roll and see what kind of shot we can get. In the read and react offense, we attempt to minimize the number of rules needed to effectively run the system. The more rules that are added to the offense, the less freedom the players have to see opportunities and to react appropriately. You have to remember that this is not a freelance system and that a number of basic rules are necessary. However, adding an overload of rules leads to more pattern play, which is what we're trying to avoid with this type of system. Now let's take a look at some of these rules that have been successful for us within our systems. The first thing we ask our players to do when receiving the ball on the perimeter is to face the basket. This does two things. This makes the pass receiver, the person with the ball, an immediate threat to the defense. The other thing it does, it allows the ball player to see penetrating opportunities inside the lane, and thus able to pass the ball to the appropriate teammate. Let's take a look at this action in a half-court sequence. You'll notice that as players are denied the opportunity to penetrate, they come back out. And as they receive the pass, they'll turn and face the basket. Each time they receive the ball, they'll look inside and try to face the basket. The next rule we try to apply in the system is to maintain proper spacing. The type of spacing we like is spacing between players that approximates a distance of 12 to 15 feet. This allows for proper rotation and floor balance that is often disturbed through cutting, flashing, and picking. Let's take a look at the attempt of three ball players offensively to maintain this spacing as they try to attack offensively. You'll notice as they come in and as they move, they're always maintaining approximately 10 to 12 feet. As they're denied opportunities to penetrate, they'll come back out. But they'll always look to maintain spacing. The next rule we try to apply within our system is that we ask our players to be able to play all positions on the floor. By playing all positions, this creates a couple of opportunities. First, when a player is able to play both high and low and possibly at a point, then we can create some defensive and offensive mismatches. It also allows us the ability not to have to reset offensively. Let's take a look at a 5-on-5 situation in the half court with this idea in mind of all the players playing all the positions. You'll notice that as players try to penetrate through flashing or through picking, they may end up in a different position. And yet they're all very comfortable in that position, and they know how to act appropriately and to penetrate wherever they may be on the floor. Another rule or requirement involving our offensive players is one that involves a move to the baseline with the ball. We ask our players not to make this move unless they have a good shooting opportunity as a result of the move or a good passing opportunity as a result of the move. If these two opportunities are not present, then the defense has tremendous opportunities to trap the baseline drive and possibly steal or cause a turnover. Let's take a look at a baseline drive with the ball and the resulting trap and turnover. As you'll see, we'll have a drive to the baseline. The ball is trapped and has nowhere to go. As he tries to pass it out, the ball is intercepted and results in a turnover. Another rule or requirement that we ask our players to be aware of is to not pick a ball that is sitting still or stationary. Trying to pick a ball that is stationary is often very difficult and unnecessary. We will allow our players to pick a ball that is moving. Let's take a look at some action that results in a pick and a moving ball. You'll notice here that the ball starts to move through a dribble. As the person moves, there becomes a picking opportunity and then a resulting drive to the basket and an excellent chance for a good high percentage shot. Finally, in all aspects of our offensive movement, we ask our players to try to penetrate. We try to penetrate by making one of two reads, an individual read or what we call a tandem read. In an individual read, we ask our players to come down, identify the player that is guarding them, and then evaluate that player on a number of levels. Some of the things that player may look for are mismatches in size, mismatches in physical classification, misalignments, or mental miscues such as ball watching. The resulting action of such mismatches is usually a flash. Let's take a look at some half-court action where, in this instance, a Class 3 player sees an opportunity to flash a Class 1 player. Here we have a Class 3 player in the low post seeing the opportunity to flash a Class 1 player, making the move and getting a very good high percentage shot. In the tandem read, players come down and evaluate the position of their own defender with respect to adjacent defenders to ascertain where a pick should be made. In the next sequence, you will see a low-high pick situation. Let's take a look at that read and the resulting action. In this half-court sequence, the tandem read is one such that the low post has an opportunity to pick the defensive wing. Number 54 comes up, sets the pick, and gets an excellent roll opportunity into the lane and gets the high percentage shot. In our read and react offensive system, we use various offensive alignments or sets to initiate our offensive movement. These alignments take place primarily in two areas. With regard to the players in perimeter positions, we can vary their alignment. We can also vary the alignment of our post players. In both these areas, two factors dictate where we play. First, the positions we take in our initial offensive alignments are dictated by the type of personnel we have offensively. In other words, how big we are, how fast we are, how experienced we are all factors in where we try to establish initial offensive alignments. The other factor that determines where we establish ourselves offensively is dictated by how the defense is playing at any particular moment in the game. Let's take a look at the alignment of perimeter players within our system. The first option available to our perimeter players in terms of initial offensive alignments is a location on the floor that we would consider to be called wide. As you can see on this half court, our players have taken a position just inside the three-point line. This is a position we would call wide. From this position, all the players are able to see all the offensive action on the floor. It also enables them, with a push, to generate momentum and to make very good flashes or very good picks into the defense. The other option available to our perimeter players in terms of initial alignments is a position that we call tight. A tight position is one in which the players come down and try to get as close to the defensive player as possible. As you can see in this alignment, that puts them in a position very close to the lane. They will generally try to tee up a defensive player. This type of position is very threatening to a defense that is sagging or packing it in. Now let's take a look at the options available to our post players in our initial offensive alignments. We can take a look at the positions of our post players in three aspects. First, we can take a look at their position with regard to the height of the lane. We can also take a look at their position with regard to their distance from the lane. And finally, we can also take a look at their position relative to the basket. Let's take a look at their position relative to the height of the lane. Number 42 is now in what we would call a low post position. He is in an excellent situation to shoot the ball off a pass here over a defensive player. If the defense decides to extend pressure, then we can move our post player up to what we would call a mid-post position. This mid-post position is located approximately halfway between the baseline and the free throw line. At this position, our post player maintains good offensive spacing and can generate good offensive picks. If the defense decides to extend even further, say to midcourt, we can move our post up to what we call a high post position. At this position, our post player becomes an outlet pass opportunity for fellow offensive teammates. You should also realize that this position can be established more centrally and with the same benefits. Here he can serve also as a good pass outlet for fellow perimeter and offensive players. Let's take a look at the post positions with respect to their distance from the lane. Number 42 is now in a post position that we would call tight. To be more definitive, he is in a low, tight post position. We can also have him take what we would call a wide position. At this location on the floor, he is considered to be wide. And from this position, with a push, he can generate good flashing action and good offensive picking. We can also take a look at the post position with respect to his or her position to the basket. Number 42 is now in a position that he is facing the basket. Again, he is in a good opportunity to receive a pass and shoot over immediately the defensive player. We can also have our post take a position that is about 45-degree angle to the basket. In this position, our offensive post becomes, again, a good pass outlet opportunity for fellow offensive teammates. Finally, we can have our post player take a position that is parallel to the lane and parallel to the defensive player. In this position, he establishes himself most often as a screen for fellow teammates, and he can be shot over rather easily.
The ability to set successful picks is perhaps the most critical skill to be acquired by offensive players in two-player interactions. Within the read and react offense, there are 4 picks which must be successfully learned in order to execute the offense appropriately. However, these 4 picks share commonalities. Let's look at the common pick components in a walkthrough. These athletes are currently positioned so that a low-high pick is appropriate. It's important to remember, however, that these commonalities are applicable to each of the 4 picks in the read and react system. To begin the action, both athletes will initiate play with a counter movement. The counter movement first widens the attack zone between the 2 defensive players. Secondly, it causes the defensive players to turn their backs to the attack zone. And third, upon reversal, it allows the 2 offensive players to gain inside angles to the attack zone. Now in setting the pick, the low post will move in an arc pattern rather than a straight line. This makes it easier for the pick to be set with the side of the chair. Using the side of the chair precludes contact in the setting of a pick, which might cause a foul, and it also presents a greater obstacle to the defensive player being picked in attempting to chase outside. Note also that the player setting the pick is overplaying to the outside to make it easier for his teammate to drive off and rub off the guard being picked. In driving off the pick, note that the athlete on the outside is maintaining a minimum gap between his chair and the chair of his teammate. This gap should be no wider than a chair width in order to preclude the possibility that the defender being picked could chase outside. The player then drives around the pick, and while this is occurring, the player setting the pick attempts to maintain his position between the defensive player that's picked and the basket. Once noting that his original defender has switched off on the driving athlete, he turns and looks for the ball and breaks to the basket. A fundamental premise of the read and react offense is that by avoiding predetermined play action or patterns, by reading and reacting to the movements of the defense, anything the defense does to attempt to stop the offense is wrong. Now, the implication of this for the picking game is that players involved in attempting to set picks on the defensive team must not be attempting to read them intermittently, but that the reads of the defensive action must be continuous. Now, in implementing this, there are 3 reads that players can make on offense when a pick is being set. First read is to drive off the pick when it has been successfully set. The second read is to stop off the pick when the 2 defenders turn inside to prevent it from succeeding. And the third action on a pick is to reverse action. That's appropriate when one of the defensive players has jumped outside in an attempt to stop that player who's driving around. Now let's look at these actions in a walkthrough, beginning with the drive off the pick. To demonstrate the drive off the pick option, these players are configured in a position which accommodates a low-high pick. Although that will be used as the example for this drive option, it's important to acknowledge that the 3 options off the pick can be used with any of the 4 picks in the read and react system. Now for the drive option, the 2 players will initiate the play with counter movements to widen the gap and to turn the back of the player being picked from the approaching pick. Now as they come up to set the pick, it's obvious that it will be successful, and seeing that the pick is successful, the player for whom the pick is being set will drive off the back of the pick using proper mechanics and pulling the low post defender away, opening up the lane for the player who set the pick to drive to the basket. Now let's look at the drive option off a pick at normal speed. Now let's do a walkthrough of the stop action off a pick. Again, we'll use the low-high pick example to demonstrate the stop action read on a pick. Again, the players will use counter movements to attempt to spread the attack zone and to distract the player being picked. In this case, however, the pick will not be successful, and the defenders will turn in on the pick. The read then is made that there is no pick, and the player driving on this pick will stop immediately behind the individual setting the pick. Now let's watch the stop action read on a pick at normal speed. Now we'll do a walkthrough of the reverse move off a pick when the low post defender jumps out. In this situation, again, the players will use a counter fake to widen the gap and distract the defensive players. As the pick is being set, it will be obvious that it, again, will prove unsuccessful. However, the low post defender, as the guard drives, jumps out prematurely. At that point, the player who attempted the pick reverses action to pick the low post, and concurrently, the player on the outside will turn to the lane and drive. This will bring the wing defender away, and the player who set the pick is now open underneath. Now let's watch this reverse action play at normal speed. In order to successfully execute the read and react offense, it's important that athletes not only understand how to set a good pick, but that they also understand when to set the pick and who should set the pick for whom. The grid system has been developed to help in answering the last 2 questions. Additionally, the grid system helps promote increased consistency in the tandem picking reads of the 5 offensive players on the floor. The grid system has 2 rules. First, in setting picks, which are in a plane that parallels the sideline of the basketball court, the defensive player located farthest from the basket, according to grid lines that run parallel to the sideline, is the defensive player to be picked. The second rule is in setting picks in a plane which runs parallel to the baseline of the basketball floor, the defensive player located farthest from the basket, according to grid lines that parallel the baseline, is the defender to be picked. A grid has been taped on the floor to provide a visual reference that can aid in understanding how the grid can indicate picking interactions. The lines which are parallel to the sideline can be used to evaluate who should pick for whom in high-low and low-high picking situations. The lines which run parallel to the baseline can be used to indicate who should pick for whom in cross-picking situations. It should be noted that a reverse pick can be set in either plane. Now let's see firsthand how the grid system can be used to indicate the picking interaction of athletes on the floor. In the present situation, the defender in the low post is located farther from the basket than the defender at the free throw line, according to the grid lines which run parallel to the sideline. Subsequently, in evaluating picks which run in a plane parallel to the sideline, a high-low pick is the appropriate one to set. Let's see a high-low pick in action. Now let's see how the grid system can be used to indicate a low-high pick. At this time, the defender on the wing is located farther from the basket than the defender in the low post, according to the grid lines which run parallel to the sideline. Thus, in setting picks parallel to the sideline, a low-high pick would be the most appropriate. Let's watch these athletes set a low-high pick. Now let's see how the grid system can be used to indicate picking interaction in setting picks which run parallel to the baseline. Now we can see that the defender at the point is located farther from the basket than the defender on the wing, according to grid lines which run parallel to the baseline. Subsequently, in setting picks along a plane which runs parallel to the baseline, the player on the wing should pick for the offensive player at the point in a cross pick. Let's watch these players set a cross pick at this time. Now that we have a basic understanding as to how the grid system can be used to explain interactions in setting individual picks, let's see how the grid can be used to explain the picking interaction of 5 offensive players on the floor simultaneously. Here we have one possible half-court offensive-defensive alignment. Now let's use the grid to indicate what picking opportunities are now available on the floor. Here in this tandem read, because this defender is located farther from the basket than the low post defender, in a picking situation which runs parallel to the sideline, a low-high pick would be most appropriate, with the forward and the low post picking for the guard on the wing. In this case, the wing defender is located closer to the basket, and the point is located farther from the basket. Subsequently, here we should have a crossing pick with the offensive wing guard picking for the point guard. In this situation, again, we have a point guard that is defensive point guard located farther from the basket than the defensive wing. So once again, we have a cross pick with the offensive wing picking for the offensive point. And finally, just in terms of the options that exist at this point in time, because this defender is located farther from the basket than the wing defender, according to the grid lines which run parallel to the sideline, a high-low pick would be most appropriate, with the wing guard picking down for the forward in the low post. Now, the picks which are set at any point in time are selected such that they are in concert with the movement of the ball and the rules of the read and react offense.
Now let's see how the grid system can be used in conjunction with other offensive reads to direct tandem offensive interaction in an actual game situation. In this situation, the defensive wings on the left and on the right are sagging. Thus, there are no high-low or low-high picking opportunities. However, their positioning does leave them susceptible to cross picks from both the left and from the right. While in offensive transition, the offensive guards simultaneously read the defensive positioning according to the grid system and note that the left defensive wing is sagging more than the right wing, thus making for a better picking opportunity from the left side. Reading this, the point guard looks to pass right and thereby causes the defensive player at the point to turn his back to the ensuing pick. Upon release of the ball to the guard on the right, the pick is executed. Because the original defensive wing will not switch in this situation, the picking wing guard cannot drive to the basket. However, the driving point guard will get a wide open 10-foot shot.
In closing then, we have shared with you specific team skills and team techniques so that your team can become more successful in wheelchair basketball.
Secondly, we would hope by introducing the read and react offensive and defensive systems that your teams will be better able to understand the interactions of 5 people on the floor, why certain things are appropriate and other things are inappropriate, thereby acquiring an understanding of what the game of basketball is about and hopefully enjoying it more and playing it better.
And finally, we hope that through the enhancement of team concept, that what we will observe in the future years is basketball played more effectively and more efficiently, so that all of the people who participate may gain a better and a more meaningful experience.